Hey, what's going on everybody? It's your bro here, hope you're doing well, and in this video I'm going to teach you guys how we can create a simple entry box in Python, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. If you find this video helpful, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support will help keep this channel running. Alright my fellow bros, in this video we're going to be discussing the entry widget. This is a text box that accepts a single line of user input. As always, we'll need a window equals tk followed by window.main loop, and let's give our entry box a unique name. Let's call this entry for short. And then to create this entry widget, we're going to follow this with equals entry. And within the constructor, we have to state what we're adding this to. We're going to add this to our window, and we should finish this by packing it or placing it. Entry.pack. And we should have an entry box within our window. However, the text is somewhat small, so let's change that. We can set this as an option within the constructor of our entry box. So let's set the font. Font equals, and pick whatever font you want. I'm going to pick maybe Arial, and then a size, maybe 50. And this should be a little bit larger. And we can type in some text like this. Cool, right? Now, we should add a submit button because right now this currently doesn't do anything if we type some text in. So let's create a button. I'm going to create this button maybe after the entry box. And let's say that this is a submit button. So let's call this submit button equals button. What are we adding this to? We're adding this to our window. And we'll set some text. Text equals submit. We'll also need a command for this button. Command equals, and we'll create a function called submit. And we want to pack this submit button to add it to the window. Submit button.pack. Alright, now let's put our entry box on the left-hand side and our submit button on the right-hand side. When you pack these widgets, you can set these on a certain side. Side equals left, and our submit button, we want this on the right. Not necessary, but I think it looks better. And we also need to define our submit function. Outside of the window, let's define what this does. Def submit. What's this going to do? We need to get the current value that's within our entry box. One way in which we can do that is use the entry box's get function. This will return a string, and we can do something with that string, such as store this within a variable. So let's create a variable called maybe username. Let's pretend we're having a user submit their username to log into something, I suppose. So we'll get the current value of the entry box, store that within a variable, and we'll call this username, and then we will maybe print this for fun. Print hello plus user name. And let's try this. So here's our entry box here and our submit button. I'm just going to make up something. Click submit, and it displays our message. Hello, I didn't say that this video was going to be professional. Let's add a few other buttons. Let's say we want a delete button as well as a backspace button. So let's copy what we have for our submit button and create a delete button and then a backspace button. The delete button's a little bit easier to code. So let's rename our submit button as delete button. Make sure to change the name too when you pack this. And the text, we will say delete, and we'll create a function called delete. And let's define what delete does. So after our submit function, let's define our delete function. And we need to delete all of the text within our entry box. One way in which we can do that is to type in the name of our entry box, dot delete function. And this takes two positional arguments. Which portion of our entry box do we want to delete? So we want the very first character, that is index 0, followed by the last character, and we can say end. So this will delete all of the characters within our entry box, and let's try it. So I'm just going to type in my name, bro, I'm going to delete this, and all of the text is now gone. Just like that. Let's create a backspace button. We'll copy what we have for our delete button and change the word delete to backspace. Make sure you change that when you pack this as well. And for the text, we'll set this to backspace. and we'll create a function called backspace. And let's define what backspace does. So after our delete function, let's define backspace. And this is going to do something very similar to our delete function, except we're going to change the first positional argument. We need to place the second to last character within this positional argument. One way in which we can do that is to first get the entire length of all of the characters within our entry box. So let's begin by typing entry.get. And we need to determine the length of this, and we can surround this by placing this within the length function. So this will return the current length of all of the characters within our entry box, and then we're going to add -1, so that this first positional argument is the second to last character, and the second positional argument is the end, the last character. And then when we run this, let's type in our name. I'm just going to type in row code this time. I'm going to click backspace, and then it's only going to delete the last character. And then if you were to click delete, it deletes everything. Broy. And then if you click submit, it's going to submit your name. All right, let's customize the appearance of this entry box. So within the constructor for this entry box, let's change maybe the color, maybe the background color and the foreground color. Let's begin with the foreground color. You can pass in a color name or a hex value. I want this to be green, so the hex value for that is 00FF00. And the foreground color of the text when we type it in is now green. And we can also change the background color. That is BG. We can pass in a color name or a hex value. I'm just going to say black to keep it simple. And we now have a black background, and the text color is now green. Here's a few useful features that you might be interested in. Let's insert some default text for our entry box. So we can use the insert function. Entry.insert. We place a positional argument as well as some text. So for the positional argument, let's say 0. So that's the very beginning, index 0. And let's set the text to maybe Spongebob. And then the default text within our entry box is now Spongebob. Another option available to us is that we can set the state of this entry box. We can set this to active or disabled. Let's say that after somebody submits our name, we want to disable this entry box. So we can either pass in this option within our constructor, or we can use the config function to make any changes to the state of our entry box. So let's say after we submit our username, we want to disable this entry box. So let's type in the name of our entry box, .config. And for the option for state, let's set this to disabled. And then once we type in a name, and then click submit, our entry box is now disabled. There's also an option called show, where you can show a certain character in place of the normal text on the screen. So this would be useful for a password. Let's say that we're typing in a password, but we don't want to display the password on the screen. We can use the show option to show a certain character in place of our text. So you might see bullets or an asterisk. So let's pretend that we're now typing in a password. So we're going to set the option for show and place a character that we want to replace each character with. Let's say we want to only display asterisks when we type in some characters. And I'm going to type in the word password, but it's only displaying asterisks now. But if I were to click submit, it displays our text in, I would say, plain text instead of our hidden text, because we're only showing whatever character that we set. So that's an option available to you as well. Well, everybody, that's how to create an entry box in Python. You can submit information such as a username, for example, or even a password if you set the show option available to you. If you want a copy of all this code, I'll post all of this in the comments down below. But yeah, that's some of the uses of the entry widget in Python. Hey you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. If you learned something new, then you can help me help you in 3 easy steps by smashing that like button, drop a comment down below, and subscribe if you'd like to become a fellow bro.